I read the paper, I thought it was amazing. The part I didn't kind of understand is what American football had to do with it. So I'll leave it to you to make that clear to us in the next 20 minutes.
Thank you. So good morning, everyone. What an amazing week this has been, and I think it has been an eye-opener for a lot of us over the last 3 days. And to address Elaine's question, really, I think I'm trying to open your eyes to what I believe is the world's most exciting sport. Because we thought, what could be a more appropriate way than to have a first-generation Indian American with a very strong Indian accent and a first-generation Indian Italian with a moderate Italian accent talk to a bunch of market research folks, very geeky, about a very physical sport of American football here in Europe. I started watching this sport when I moved to the US about 8 years ago, and really it has grown for me. For an idea of, for someone who's used to watching a sport for 7 hours a day for 5 days at a stretch, cricket, and then realize that it was a draw and still feel excited about it, I think you can empathize that American football had a lot of interest. If you look at this image over here, this is the quarterback, he's holding the American football. So I know a lot of people say, why is it called a football when you hold it? You need to kick it. Well, it's because it's a 1 foot long ball. And really, he has a lot of options here. If you think of where he could go, and he's playing my favorite team, the Falcons, and really, he could go to the wide receivers towards the either ends. He could go to the tight end who's managed to break through. The running back is kind of also breaking through, and he's got another option there. So there is so much that he could do. There is so much nuance in every, ticking second as he's ready to make that decision. But what that picture does not capture is the dynamism on the play, which is that actually the pass rushers, they manage to break through the pocket and they actually get to him and they sack him. And what could have been a game-winning drive ends up being a loss for this team over here. So if you think about that fact or the aspect of, there are so many sources of the truth, right? And I think in our own worlds and in our own lives, if you look at all the data sources, you've got, internal sales data, you've got industry estimates, there is market share which comes from syndicated sources, you could have some of your usage and attitude studies, as well as there might be ad hoc dipsticks or researches that you could have done. So many sources of the truth, but not necessarily, and I'm sure all of us can empathize, not necessarily all of them point to the same directions at all time. And so, so many versions to the truth. How do we really establish what is the truth? If you go to the client side, and having worked both on the client and the agency side, I think I can give this example. If you go to the client side, the clients will tell you that the ultimate truth is the sales volume. There's no bigger truth than that. What the clients will not tell you is that the sales volumes also hide part of the picture, because it may have sell-in versus sell-out. It may not have, the impact of the inventory buildup, and they'll never admit this, it may not account for some of the volume which is flowing outside of the geography, cross-border movements. If you go to the agency side and they look at the market research data, they'll tell you everything's right, but what they won't tell you is that also could be flawed because of sampling or non-sampling errors. So what we believe is, if you look at all of these data sources, what you need to do is, some of these truths have a greater weightage and some of these truths have a little smaller weightage. You need to almost construct a hierarchy of the truth and construct a flow in a manner where what is a more trusted source of truth starts at the top, and then you start kind of stitching the data together across all your sources, and you allow it to flow as per an algorithm and apportion, the numbers across those lower layers of truth. So to that extent, you do acknowledge and keep all the truths, but you are actually also building and constructing data that everyone can relate to, because now you've got one source of an understanding which synchronizes with a broad set of understanding with the organization. So going back to my football analogy, I mean, if you think about football, so much strategy, so much violence. Someone called it as a mix of, like chess on steroids, or a mix of chess and WWE. I believe, Vittorio, that indeed it is the best, the greatest sport on earth. What do you think about my truth on that?
Why don't we ask the audience, who believes that football is the best sport on earth? Say yes.
Yes.
Okay, let's try one more time. And Marco, give me the drums. Who believes that football is the best sport on earth? Oh, we are all on the same page. We all agree. And specifically, this is my hometown soccer team from Palermo, and we do wear pink shirts. Yes, we do. But you see the analogy, beyond the joke. We all use the same language to mean different things. And more to the point, as Pavi explained, we have multiple sources of truth. Which one is the truth? Or is there one that is not truth? Well, it's about the hierarchy of truths. And that's the question we were asked by Pavi when he came in. He says, hey, we have a new survey, a new UNA, so we got, guess what? One more source of truth. How do we reconcile all of those? Can you come and help? And the problem with the market, like you explained, is that the vision care industry is very complex. It's a hybrid of FMCG and pharmaceuticals. You need an eye doctor to get the first prescription. But then there is a journey whereby the eye doctor still can play a role, but there are a number of other factors such as retail, direct, online. There are markets where you can actually purchase your contact lenses in vending machines, and some of you may know which ones are those markets. Like Japan, everything can be sold on vending machines. And fashion, people that wear contact lenses, they actually don't need vision correction, but they do it for beauty reasons. So how do we approach this? We turn to our philosophy, which is rooted in system thinking and system control engineering, which at its core is really simple and talks about stocks and flows. It is simple. Consumers make choices. Consumers choose not to use your brand. Consumer choose to use your brand. Consumer choose to switch out of your brand. That's one truth. This is one piece of the information. But more than that, there is change happening. People decide to start using your brand. People decide to lapse out of using your brand or even switch out of the category. Some others decide to go back and restart using your brand. So there is dynamics in the market. Why is that important beyond just a fancy use of PowerPoint? Because this is what marketing initiatives do. We all want more consumers, more users sitting in that box, in that stock. How do we make that stock go high? It's about acting on the pathways, on the pipes, on the flows. This is what marketing actions do. They try to change consumers' behavior in our favor. It's not a non-trivial exercise, and we'll walk you through our journey in 3 steps, and we'll try to keep with the football analogy where possible. We don't want to overdo it. But the first point is, okay, we agree it's about stocks and flows, but what is the right structure that represents our market? And you'll see where we landed, but it's not so straightforward. Because you really need to look at segments that you can impact. It need not be a theoretical exercise. And it needs to be an exercise that also puts a company like J&J with several markets in play on the same place, building a shared mental model so that everybody agrees on the same lenses to look at the market and feel that they do account for their local differences. Where we landed is, and this is illustrative, simplified, but the gist of it is that there are never wearers, people that never wore contact lenses, and within that you got consumers that actually use vision correction tools, glasses, need vision correction but don't use glasses, and then no need for vision correction. And within that, we looked at different attitudes. Are you open or are you rejected to the idea of that? Then there is a second big box of current wearers, and Pavi will mention something about net wearers. That's what at the end of the day, we want to influence. We want more wearers. net of in and out. And within that, we distinguish between people that use daily lenses that you dispose of the day after, or reusables, that could be on a weekly, monthly reusables, and beauty lenses. And within that, we look at competition. And then finally, we got pass wearers, and within that, there are some other boxes. As I said, may look simple, and it is simplified, but getting there is not so simple, because if you look at the data, you will see that there are variances in compliance. People that don't use lenses as directed, and people that do. That's a huge lever. If you can have everybody use their lenses, like I used to wear contact lenses, I would stretch my dailies 3 days. I'm sure some of you do the same. You save money, and it kind of works. I shouldn't say that. No. Or big differences in if you're a daily user, do you actually use it every day, or you just use it depending on an occasion, only for sports and so on? These seems very attractive places to act on, but did fail the test of actionability. So this is an important part. Can we action? And we knew from previous knowledge that we can't change that. So we took those things away. We didn't segment based on frequency of usage. We didn't do it based on compliance. Once you've done that, the next piece is to get the bigger picture. And back to the analogy of football, don't just base your understanding and don't make decisions just based on what's in front of you. Remember, the quarterback was just looking at 4 plays as well, see what's coming. And so here are the different pathways or things that are actionable for us as a company that we can actually do something about. The switching from non-user to user, people that actually choose to exit the category and become pass wearers, and see what attitudinal segments, people that actually restart, and Pavi will talk to that, behind the chairs, people that actually switch, which is what we think of most often, right? People that switch brands. And then another interesting one is people that actually try contact lenses but never develop a habit, never really purchase them, and actually become lapsed users right away. Quantifying that picture was an enormously important and not easy exercise. And again, we went back to control engineering systems to make sure that we could use this framework and control engineering to making sure that all the different sources we had, including the new UNA, but sales information, information residing at the channel level, could all be merged together to create a cohesive picture. Because the stocks need to be explained by the change in the flows, and the change in the stocks need to explain our sales. And as we always say, models don't take prisoners. Things need to add up. So that's what we did, and that was the second step. And you're already halfway. In fact, I would say this is the home stretch, because the last thing we had to do is to just answer the question, okay, now that we know the bigger picture, where do we focus? And where do we focus was, we could do some sensitivity analysis using system dynamics modeling and understand what pathways are the most important. Do we want to focus on stopping consumers, with the actions we have, consumers from switching out from the category? Well, that's the value at stake. Do we want to win from competitors? That's more of the incoming mindset. Or do we want to focus on re-winning restarts? That led to 7 truths. I don't know after this football analogy how many you're still willing to share, but I'll leave it to you to decide.
Sure. So we'll share a few truths over here, and the paper obviously has a lot more detail. What we actually did is, we looked at all the stocks and flows, and we started understanding the picture both on the static as well as the dynamic image. And some of the truths that emerged, some of them is, like we say, insights, a blinding glimpse of the obvious. There is a new cohort of consumers who enter the category every year. While that's not remarkable, what's remarkable is the fact that we call it like vision care. Whether you need vision correction or not, that's a card you're dealt with. Some of you may not want to acknowledge it, and you're kind of trying to do that or put your flashlight on to read, but you do need vision correction, and that's a card you've been dealt with. What you choose to do with it is a consumer choice. And what we realize is over the years, there is enough motivation for people to get into contact lenses, because some people like to go for glasses, for contact lenses, do nothing, or actually go and get a surgery done. So there is a healthy inflow that happens every year. Unfortunately, there is also an equally unhealthy outflow that happens every year. So the net increase doesn't really come through. And what we needed to do is figure out how can we increase that flow and reduce the outflow. The second one that we learned is, all of those inflows that come in do not necessarily come in from completely new to the category. Actually, there is, these are what we call as fence sitters. As your lifestyle and your life stages or your eye physiology changes, your motivation levels and how you interact with the category change as well. And so, simple, very oversimplified analogy. I wanted to get married, look good, look attractive. I didn't like my glasses look. I go into contact lenses. Now I'm married. I've got 2 kids. No one else to, impress, and I'm out of this category, right? So the motivation level change over a period of time. However, if we could trigger or rekindle the motivation, we can get people back. The third one really talked about the fact, which is that, the path to purchase is not an easy process. And for any one of you who've gone through this, exercise of taking an appointment, showing up, getting your eyes checked, going through the training, and then going back to, check whether that worked for you, and then ordering your lenses, it's a very difficult process. However, even within that, 1 in 4 people who go through this difficult journey still drop out. So they don't really formulate a habit. And so we needed to address how can we remove the pain points, how can we handhold people who've made all that effort and stay in. And this actually built the basis for the AccuView experience that we're rolling out to make sure that we address access, fit, and convenience to build a lifetime value of wearers. And the last one over here really talks about the fact that, the category has a lot of headroom to grow. And again, this is not something that is remarkable, but what was remarkable for us is as we managed to piece all these data together, what we uncovered is in the past, we were only focusing on current wearers, so switching, or who we called as considerers. And considerers are people who are considering getting into the category. What we were not doing is talking to people who are non-considerers or rejectors, because we thought that was insignificant. What we found is there were 2 times as many non-considerers than considerers. And we didn't even know what we didn't know because we were never even talking to them. So, so essentially what we then did is, did a lot of qualitative work to start uncovering the motivations and barriers amongst the considerers and the rejectors. And this campaign actually got inspired literally by what happened in the focus group rooms, because someone came up with the idea to say, hey, based on what I'm hearing, these guys don't even know what lenses are. They are aware of the category, but they are being brought down because of the myths of what they think this category is. So just the aspect of giving people lenses to touch and feel and play with moved them across the spectrum from a rejecter to a considerer. And this is a quirky campaign that we built up, so we'd quickly like to take you through this. Oh, no.
No! Oh, wow. Hi!
Hi.
How's it going?
Hello.
So, have you ever thought about trying contacts?
The thought of contacts, they scare me, which is a little bit embarrassing for an adult. However, glasses are definitely a little bit annoying.
Very annoying.
I've also been told I have beautiful eyelashes, so my glasses kind of cover those up.
I have never touched a contact. I feel like the texture would be too rough.
It's like putting a turtle shell in your eye.
I've never touched a contact in my life.
No.
I don't think I ever will touch a contact in my life.
Steven, can we bring in the contacts?
You have them here?
Oh, no.
No! Oh, no.
Oh, wow.
Hi, Steve.
Oh, I'm not gonna put these contacts in. Steven. Steven. Keith, come get these contacts.
You go first.
Scary.
3,
2.
1.
Oh, I got it.
What?
That's it.
That is crazy.
It's like I didn't even know it was on my finger.
It's much, much, much thinner than I thought it would be.
It's very silky and like smooth.
It feels like almost nothing.
They honestly feel like clouds. Now that I've touched the contact, I can totally try AccuView contact lenses.
After this experience, I would try contacts. Yeah, it's incredible.
Great, so what do we want to leave you with? Just as a quick recap, these are the 3 steps we took, and we strongly feel that this was the answer to some of those things that we see at the top of our agenda. How can we swim into other lanes as opposed to just stay in our research lane? Well, help your organization define your playing field, understanding what the hierarchy of truth is with the different data sources, and size each one of those pathways. Then base your game plan on the bigger picture, actions that you can take against each pathway. Make sure you understand what actions are, and then evaluate your actions using dynamic modeling. And then finally, align your organization against a common language. This is the way that you can build that confidence needed to actually act on the opportunity.
And really, I mean, it's really about uncovering those challenges and opportunities. It's about making those strategic choices on the basis of where you feel you could actually get your growth. And eventually, then it's about socializing this. So a couple of things I want to leave you behind with. Number one, for many, many years, this category was stagnant. This year, in fact, the data has just come through. It's the first time for many, many years when the category has actually grown, net new wearers. Just getting that focus in, making sure that we are looking at getting more inflows, it is working for us. The other thing I want you to kind of think through is we talk a lot about data, analytics, and this entire big data space, but all of that comes to nothing if you don't put it along with humans. So the entire hierarchy of truth, you can't have you can't have a computer model decide the hierarchy of the truth. What you need is that understanding of the art and science and blending it together so that you can really take the business to the next level. Thank you.
Thank you, Pavi and VIttorio. That was great. Lots of insights there. I mean, for me, to be honest, the number one insight was now I know why they actually call it a football. It's like 1 foot long. I mean, they should tell you this